Welcome to the Pod in Your Basement podcast, featuring Ben DeLessio and Joe Garza. They're alive, they're hungry, and they're opinionated. Baby.
Well, I'm getting over a cold, so I have a very scratchy throat.
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah. I'm through the worst of it, but like, it's just like each day I get 1% better. So now
1%?
Yeah.
Where are you starting at?
I mean, I think I'm like 80%, like fully recovered, but now it's just like each day it's just like I still just got like this obnoxious phlegm. I don't know if it's like the blob or the stuff.
I think it's just living in your polluted ass city,
or the substance. Or I was trying to make a body horror thing for you, Ben, and then you.
No, I got it. I went right past it. I'll always find a way to have a ricochet shot at California.
You know what's funny? I actually just saw a list of like the 5 worst of the states that people regret moving to the most. California only came in at number 5. Can you believe it?
Regret moving to?
Yeah.
They regret moving there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what was number 1, Ben? Guess. Tell me. You know what it is. Tell me.
Is it New Jersey?
Yes.
Was it really?
Yeah. I was surprised by that because I thought like, maybe California would be 5 and then maybe New Jersey would be 4 or 3. But no, it was number 1.
Did it say why?
Yeah, they said it just sucks. The people there suck.
Yeah.
No, they said the weather sucks. Like that's one of the which I don't know.
There's probably some AI crap. Like no, the weather is. I don't know. To me, New Jersey is just weather. Like it has everything.
Yeah.
It can suck. Today's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, the people who live in Gotham City their entire lives think Gotham City's a nice place to live. So,
which is in New Jersey, actually.
That's right.
Which I only learned a couple of years ago.
That's right. Because
I would say like the weather in like North Dakota sucks.
Yeah.
I would think it's probably super windy and cold.
And hurricanes,
bleak. Not hurricanes, no. Tornadoes. Yeah, like that to me probably sucks. New Jersey's just it has like all 4 seasons pretty standard, and I don't know.
Well, anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, that's right. We're talking about my throat. But we're going to talk about something even scarier, if you can believe it. So jump scares.
California and New Jersey.
Yeah,
we do live in probably 2 of the most hated states. Yeah. Like California merits it, and I mean that also as like because it's beautiful and the weather's great and it has so much that. It's also a hate of like envy. I think people also hate it because of its politics, and you guys are on just for some reason want to destroy yourselves. So, but like New Jersey, I don't get the hate.
Yeah,
like I don't like, and I didn't know. Like people always kind of said that, and it was kind of like a silly like butt of the joke. But I lived in another part of the country for a little, and like people actually hate New Jersey who have never been there, never been here.
I thought it was because I didn't like start realizing that the hate for New Jersey until Jersey Shore, which still seemed kind of funny to me because it was like, but if you go to Beverly Hills, it's the exact same thing. Like it's not much different. Like it's still just like, you go to a fancy beach and it's still just like silicone and douchebags. So I don't really see.
Also, like almost all of them weren't New Jerseyans. Like they would come to New Jersey.
Right.
Like, so anyway, but I did realize that. And it's like, oh, you guys like actually hate New Jersey.
Yeah.
And you've never been there or what?
It's like weird. The Nickelback of the US.
But then Nickelback it's also like they're like one of the most successful bands. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I really don't care if people hate New Jersey. Like stay out then. Go stay in Pennsylvania. Like I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So okay. We're talking, this is a horror podcast. We're talking about jump scares.
That's right. Now we've talked on the other podcast, the Reckless Musecast, about
that shall not be named.
our general well, now you're making it sound scary, so now people aren't going to check it out. We've talked about like our general disdain for jump scares, but at the same time we're pretty nuanced boys, so we try to look at like, well, there's some jump scares that have worked. There's been some good jump scares over the years, and so I thought before we jump into like our favorite and least favorite jump scares, if kind of talked a bit about the history of the jump scare, because I thought that was actually pretty interesting. It just seems like something that just kind of came part and parcel of the horror genre, but it actually has quite a long history of it. So I thought I'd jump into this a little bit with an article in Collider.
All right. Take it away.
So jump scares are synonymous with horror. They're used to. I don't need it. We all know what jump scares are.
We know what they are.
Yeah. The first. So here's where it gets a little. I do have to bicker a little bit with the history, but I'll just read the first paragraph real quick. The jump scare made its first appearance all the way back in 1942 in the film Cat People and was created by Mark Robson while editing the film. The scene in question follows Alice as she walks home late at night and realizes someone is following her. She begins to panic and run, and due to the anxiety we feel from the character and the atmosphere of the scene, we're left on edge. The suspense comes to a surprising head as a bus comes into view loudly and suddenly, thus creating a jump scare. Have you seen that scene before?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that jump scare. It's pretty modern. Like it feels like it would not feel out of place in a newer horror film. And what's cool about it too is that like when the scene is gradually about to reach its apex, you hear the sound of a cat, like kind of like hissing or something, but then it blends in with the sound of a bus screeching to a halt. So it's actually like a pretty cool little trick that they did. And then it's one of those things where it's like, okay,
was that movie remade?
It was remade in 1982, I believe, by Paul Schrader, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I have that on my watch list because I saw it in 1942. I'm like, I don't think that's on my watch list, but all right, that makes more sense. So it actually works pretty well. So the historical part that I've got a bone with is that I would say that probably earlier there was another jump scare, which is Phantom of the Opera, which came out in 1925. It was silent, so maybe that's why it doesn't register as like a jump scare nowadays in these sorts of lists. But in the scene where the Phantom is playing on the organ, he's got his mask on, and the woman is gradually creeping up to him. And then she pulls the mask off, and then all of a sudden, like the camera switches because it's almost like in profile. It's the two of them side by side, and she's gradually coming up to him, and then the camera immediately cuts to the front of him as she pulls the mask off, and then you see his ugly ass face. I mean, it's actually like that. It's a pretty shocking scene, but there's no sound or music unless it's being performed live. Okay.
But I think that would probably be an earlier jump scare by 17 years. The specific type of jump scare is known as the Luton bus and is named after the film's producer Val Luton. A Luton bus scare is when viewers are scared by something completely harmless, such as a cat jumping out of a cupboard, or in the case of Cat People, a bus coming screeching into the frame. It isn't just the Luton bus that is a branch of the jump scare, though. There's also the mirror effect. The mirror effect was used when someone or something shows up behind a character in a mirror and was first used in the 1965 film Repulsion. Yeah, I didn't know that was the origin of the mirror scare, because that's been used like in American Werewolf in London. It was used in Shaun of the Dead, where somebody just...
when I read this, I didn't... Because I don't know Repulsion. I didn't understand what the mirror effect, like what it is from this description. Can you explain it?
Yeah, so it's when a character is like an unsuspecting main character is like in the bathroom, or in the case of Repulsion, I believe she is in her bedroom, and she's got like an armoire sort of thing, and there's a mirror on it, and so she's going through it, and she pulls out a dress, and then when she closes the dresser door, then all of a sudden somebody appears in the mirror behind her.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's from 1965. I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that one scene. So that movie was actually directed by Roman Polanski. Which I do want to check out at some point. But yeah, so that one ended up being used in American Werewolf in London, Shaun of the Dead, and a bunch of other movies.
That's been used that's a trope now.
Oh yeah.
Where it's more of the not having the whatever in the mirror, Or another one is like the other side of the refrigerator. You know what I mean? Like when you open the refrigerator door and then you shut it, and it's like the other side, like all of a sudden something appears. Okay, yeah.
And I think it was also used in Insidious too. But anyway, jump scares in the first years after Cat People weren't in high demand, but it is to be noted that The Thing from Another World has one of the most notable jump scares in classic horror. Its use of the jump scare is completely opposite to that of Cat People, as it's not used as a fake out. The threat to the characters is very real and unexpected. So again, I haven't seen the movie, but I did watch that scene, and it's actually pretty interesting. And real quick, that was remade into John Carpenter's The Thing. But the scene in question is
right, yeah.
Both of which were based on a short story or novella by John W. Campbell called "Who Goes There." Anyway, so the scene in question features a group of men, and like one of them's got a gun, and he opens the door, and then the monster's right there. Because so it wasn't a fake out. It's like, oh, like it actually carried through on the terror, but it's them gradually creeping up, and you would expect nobody to be there, or you'd expect Billy to be there or something, or a cat to be there. But so then the actual creature ended up being right behind the door, and then that kind of takes off from there. It wasn't until 1976 with Brian De Palma's Carrie that jump scares truly became a mainstream technique. The scene in question takes place at the end of the film as Sue goes to place flowers at Carrie's grave, only to have a bloodied hand shoot out from the ground and grab her. This is often regarded as the first mainstream jump scare, and it is to this day one of the most memorable and most famous scenes in horror history.
That surprised me. I guess 1976 is a while ago, and really like horror wasn't as. I mean, there are of course iconic horror movies pre 1976.
Sure.
But really, there's like a deluge of horror in the coming decades after that. So you think like, oh, Carrie, like 1976, that was the first mainstream jump scare. But yeah, I guess there wasn't all that much mainstream horror before that.
Yeah, I mean, other than The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, I was just about to say Rosemary's Baby. I mean, like you have Nosferatu, right? Going back to like Silent Era, but there's not a lot.
Well, there's something interesting too, is that like I think a lot of there were some pretty big horror hits from that era, but it seemed like they seemed a little more elevated because 1976 also saw the release of The Omen. But there's something about Carrie because it has it centers around teens. Like that was sort of like a Friday night kind of like.
Wait, hold on. Can we just address something that you said that really just sunk in with me?
What's that?
Is that when did The Exorcist come out? 73?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I don't know why I never really put this together.
Huh.
There wasn't all that much horror pre The Exorcist, and then like one of the most insane, scary movies ever comes out. Like no wonder why it has the reputation that it does. Like I never really thought of that because I saw The Exorcist for the first time probably in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Maybe even early 2010s. I don't know exactly the first time I saw it. No, it was 2000s. I was like a middle schooler or high schooler. And yeah, man, like that is crazy to think about that there wasn't a lot of horror. And then you make this movie that totally holds up in 2025. The Exorcist is scary.
Yeah.
And like really scary, I would say. I think the spider walk's one of the scariest things ever put on film. And that's just always stuck with me. So I don't know. I just wanted to address that before we went past it and I forgot about it. That's really kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. I think if the movie was based on the novel by William Peter Blatty, if that novel hadn't been written, and like let's say it was just written a couple of years ago and The Exorcist came out this year, I think it would still be almost as controversial. I think people would still be freaking out. You would still have people going like, "Oh my God, how did you get away with that?" Like,
you have like a little girl masturbating with a crucifix. I think would be pretty controversial. And that came out in the 70s. That came out the same year of Roe v. Wade. That's insane. Abortion just became legal, and they had that on screen.
You gotta do an essay on that where it's like there's some kind of connection you can make with like coat hangers and like that scene, like an abortion.
No wonder why that just like ruined people.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because like, they were also much more restrictive back then in the 1970s when it came to the amount of like, the portrayals of like sex and violence and other mature content. It's like, yeah, how did you get away with putting a 12, 13-year-old girl masturbating with a crucifix and then she's yelling at a priest?
When I was reading these articles, I forget if it's this one or the other one where it talks about the the what was it, the Hyde laws or whatever they were called, or the rules in filmmaking. There was like the self-censorship, and then there was like the legal censorship, and then those were lifted, and it's like it was all just being held in, and it's like, now let's go make the most insane shit. You have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you have The Exorcist, you have Rosemary's Baby, which visually isn't terrifying, but like the subject matter is extremely disturbing.
Yeah, she's raped by Satan. Yeah, like
yeah, it's not right, and you have a little child who is deformed and a Satan spawn, and you don't see it, of course, spoiler alert, but yeah, it's kind of like it's not like, oh, okay, all these laws are lifted and you can make whatever you want, and we're just gonna make like some slashers and some like spooky stuff. Like, no, they make the most insane shit for like 20 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then it wasn't really until like the 1980s with the moral majority of the Reagan era that they really started clamping down on violence and sex and all that stuff in the 80s, and then things started to kind of
clamping down.
Oh yeah. In the 80s, I mean, like almost every slasher movie that came out had to be cut because like they were counting thrusts during sex scenes. They were that was too much.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah, seriously. And then that was also like when you had MTV and that was obscene, and then you had like the Parents Music Resource Center saying heavy metal and pop music is too obscene. So yes, and actually there was a quick side note on the Criterion Collection DVD that I have, Videodrome. There's an interview. Is hosted by this guy Mick Garris, who was also a filmmaker at the time, but not as well known. But he's interviewing John Carpenter, David Cronenberg, and John Landis, and they both had some really awesome horror movies in the early 80s. But all of them said, like, yeah, like now that we're in the 80s and we have like the sort of Christian conservative thing, now we're fighting with the MPA a lot. So John Landis even said, so he made Kentucky Fried Movie in the 70s, and that had a pretty extended sex scene. And he goes, but I managed to get away with an R rating. But then when I was doing American Werewolf in London, there's a sex scene in a movie theater in the background. It's not even up close. It's just in the background. But the MPA said, if you don't cut a few frames of that, we're going to give this an X rating. And he's like, I was able to get away with that 6 years ago, but now I can't have sex scene in the background.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just both of them were just sort of like, yeah, something happened between the mid 70s to the early 80s, Reagan. So, but
yeah. And this isn't horror, but I watched Happiness for the first time last night. Have you seen Happiness?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I heard about them.
It's I got it. I had it on my list for a very long time. I got it in my library, which was
Philip
great.
Seymour Hoffman's in that one, I think.
Yeah. And it is full of taboos. I won't go into it.
Yeah.
Disturbing, but like the end of that movie, I kind of hated because it's like, but I also don't know if I kind of loved it. It was really gross. And it's like, okay, you've stomached all of this. We're going to do just like one more disgusting thing. Just because.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not great radio, but if you've seen Happiness, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, because I saw it for the first time, and it's from like the late nights, from like 98 or 99.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, getting back to
jump scares.
So we all know, everyone kind of knows what jump scare is, and then this article talks about how they've become kind of just not only ubiquitous, but like, I don't know if you want to go into more of it or you want to get more into like our thoughts and just kind of summarize, because like we all know what a jump scare is, and now it's looked at, and I agree with this mostly, that's like very cheap, and it's a way to elicit a response that I think people come to expect from a horror, but I think it's one of the cheapest forms of horror, unless, and we'll get into this, unless it's done well, in which case I really like them. Yeah. But it's kind of like I don't know 80-20, 90-10, or even less than that.
Yeah.
As in like 90% are bad eye roll, like, oh, geez, okay.
Yeah.
10% are good. But like when there are good ones, I think they can be done really well. And that's kind of what prompted us to do this episode topic, because I had seen one or two good ones recently. Well, also some bad ones recently. So do you have anything to add until we kind of get into our thoughts on them?
Yeah. I just want to continue with this just a little bit more, just because I thought this was really funny.
Okay.
But it wasn't just visual jump scares that terrorized audiences. William Castle took the idea to new heights. So are you familiar with William Castle? So he was a movie producer in like the 50s and 60s, I believe. And so he made a lot of really trashy, like low budget horror movies, but that were also very gimmicky and they were big hits with the teens, right? Okay. Here's some examples of what he did. During screenings of his films, he would provide some sort of gimmick to mess with the audience, such as a skeleton soaring down a zip line at the end of House on Haunted Hill, or most famously, rigging buzzers under seats during viewings of The Tingler. He also had this thing where it's like, when you were going to watch, when you got tickets to one of his movies, I think it was The Screaming Skull, but it was advertised as the scariest movie ever made. And so when you bought tickets, you had to sign a waiver saying that, like, you know, if you suffer some kind of like a heart attack or something, you won't sue, or if you die during the screening of it, your family's not going to sue the producers or the movie theaters. Like, it's just like really dumb, cheesy stuff. But it worked. Like, you know, it was, you know, it got butts into seats. But like, he was kind of a master of these gimmicky things. So.
That's an episode we should do, by the way, is movies that have been called the scariest movie ever made and how. Because I feel like that. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I feel like you hear that all the time.
Yeah. And then anyway, so then the article just kind of goes into, you know, once you got to like the slasher and the modern day jump scares, and slasher movies from like the late 70s on were pretty much like, I think it's like legally required almost that you have to have a jump scare in almost every single slasher movie. But yeah, Ben, so did you want to talk a little bit about some of the scares, the jump scares that you liked, or do you want to start with ones we don't like?
Well, I think ones we don't like are just like, personally, the vast majority of them. Yeah. I think horror can be so varied, so interesting, fun. I don't think you need a big budget for horror, and that's without jump scares. Like, I think a lot of people say, "Oh, you can make a cheap horror movie and then just fill it full of jump scares." Like, no, I mean, without that, like, you can build tension, you can have creepy settings, cool monsters that don't take all that much makeup or now CGI or both. You know, so you know, bad ones, I guess off the top of my head, just from recency bias, I was watching this movie, was it Until Dawn? It's a horror, what's it called? It's time loop movie, which is cool, like cool concept. Time loop movies are always, well, not always fun, but they can be very fun. Palm Springs, of course, Groundhog's Day, very famous. So a horror one, I'm like, all right, cool. I like this. It was meh overall. And there was just one, like, towards the end of the movie jump scare where, you know, it's a character being chased by ghouls, whatever you want to call them. And it was just one of those ones that really irritated me because it was totally unnecessary. You're already in a tense scene, and it's sort of like, when you really break it down and analyze it, it's like it didn't even make sense because of where the ghoul came from.
Right.
And this is hard to say without having a visual, but it was like through a door, and it was almost like the ghoul came sideways, which doesn't really make any sense that it would do that, like sideways instead of just straight through the door, like just to create the jump scare. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I remember at least enough. I watched the movie like 3-4 weeks ago, and I'm still thinking about it. Right, so it's like notable enough for me to go, "Oh, that kind of sucked." Like, I don't know, just stupid, like unnecessary. The movie had enough cool, gross, scary stuff in it that was just totally unnecessary. And to me, that shows a director who isn't confident in his script, in his movie. It's like, did we scare them enough? all right, let's throw this in there, just so they go and I didn't like that. Do you want me to go on to one I liked, or do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, so one I liked, and that movie, by the way, was a 2025 movie. This is another 2025 movie. This was a better movie. It's called It Feeds, not It Follows. That's a different movie. That's I think a really good horror movie from mid 2010s. This is It Feeds. Much better movie than I thought it was going to be. Still not great, but I think I'm giving it, I remember in the reviews, it like high 60s. So it's like okay to good.
Sure.
And very cool concept. Again, like everything in horror these days. I mean, I guess spoiler alert, it's about trauma or whatever, something like that. Right. But it's like a spectral thing. It's can only feed on certain people. You open up this, someone can do that. Can fight it, whatever, you know the stories. But there's a really good jump scare in it that I texted you during it that reminded me of probably one of the most famous jump scares of all time. That's good, is the Insidious jump scare of things to Satan, right? Like the devil.
It was just some kind of like weird demon thing.
Okay, so behind Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson. Yeah, I said Patrick Stewart. Not Patrick Stewart. Patrick Wilson. And this one was like similar to that, where it was like a good camera angle, creepy, made sense, like just like a well done jump scare, which just shows like it's not difficult to do, and it can be like just as scary and not cheap. And again, it's hard to describe these things. So, this movie, I would recommend going and seeing it. You could stream it. I think it's on Hulu. But it happens pretty early. And you can tell me what you think. But it was a creepy, well done, and I would still believe it counts as a jump scare.
Okay. Yeah. A jump scare that I like, probably one of my all-time favorite jump scares, is from The Exorcist 3, which I've brought up before. That one does a great job. It does a few really good things that I think are pretty unique compared to other jump scares. So the setting is I think she's like a nurse or receptionist at a hospital. And she's there late at night, and it's just her. Sometimes a security guard or someone like an orderly would pass by, but she's mostly in the front by herself. And then she starts hearing like a clinking sound, and she goes, "Hello, is anybody there?" And she hears this little clink again, and then she goes into one of the patient's rooms, and then it shows what the sound is, and it's a sound like I've never seen it ever used, like utilized in a movie before, which is the sound like when you have a glass of ice water and then the ice cracks a little bit. So it's that sound that she hears. Like, oh, that's a cool little like thing, like some weird subtle little thing that we all know about, but I've never seen it used in the movie before. And then when she goes, "Oh my God!" and then like the patient jumps up out of the bed. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing? Get out of here!" She goes, "Okay, I'm so sorry." Right? So like, okay, a cheesy little fake out, right? So then she goes back to her desk, and there's a security guard there, and it's cool because the camera is farther back. So so it's like a 1 point perspective, right? So you see the receptionist on the right, and then you see security guard on the left, and they're chatting a little bit, and then he gets up and leaves. The camera's completely still. And then then the receptionist gets up and she starts from her desk as after the security guard is gone, and just as she's about to exit the frame, somebody, and they're wearing they're all cloaked and robed up. Somebody appears right behind her carrying like a giant, like I don't know what it's called, like it's not a bone saw, but it's like a giant pair of scissors that I guess you use for cutting through bone, appears right behind her, and then it just cuts, and you hear like a loud screech, and then it cuts, and you're like, "Oh my God, what the fuck was that?" And then it's not until you hear later that this woman was brutally murdered. But like it was a cheap fake out, and then it delivered afterwards. And it's cool because the camera is just stationary for the vast majority of it until the camera just does like this hard zoom to it. It's a really killer jump scare. And there's like so much, it was so meticulously crafted. It's probably my favorite all-time jump scare ever. Now,
that sounds good, because I think the better jump scares are like you just described, where it's usually something, let's just say, the killer or the monster, for lack of another term, behind someone.
Yeah.
That's the one from Insidious.
Yep.
That's, I believe, the one from It Feeds that I'm referring to. I think they're just like way more interesting than I think more common, where the killer monster pops out.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's and I think why it's considered less cheap is because there does need to be better direction with what we both described.
Yeah.
There needs to be more tact with the camera, where the other is purely just startling someone. And that's what I always said. And I think it's in this other article where it talks about like startling. And to me, that doesn't take any skill to startle someone. Anyone can hide around a corner, pop out from behind a door, and startle anybody. The toughest, scariest person. That's just a natural reaction. That doesn't take any skill in storytelling or camera work or anything like that.
And I think one of my least favorite jump scares ever is from The Woman in Black, the one with Daniel Radcliffe from 2012.
Yeah. You hate this movie. You reference this movie a lot, I feel like.
I definitely have. I don't hate it. I mean, it's got a cool gothic look. It's got like very elaborate, production design, and it has a very Tim Burton-y look to it as well. And I think I was also very disappointed by it because it was presented as being sort of like a very like slow burn, intense, but also like sophisticated gothic horror film. And it's also based on a novel too. So I was expecting something that was maybe a little more elevated. But there were just way too many dumb jump scares. But like this one, why I think it's so bad is because it is just, it's just a dumb, cheap scare. And it's done twice in the exact same scene. So Daniel Radcliffe, he's staying at this old mansion, out in the countryside by himself. And he goes up to this old room and there's a bird's nest in the fireplace. And he goes up to it and then a crow jumps out of it. And it's like, okay, all right. You producers.
You got me.
You got me. All right, fine, whatever. And then he gets up and then he looks out the window and then he sees the woman in black. And it's like, it's from a distance and you barely see the shape of her. And then like that to me was creepier because she's just standing there staring at him from a distance. So you're almost like you have to kind of squint a little bit to see her. And then all of a sudden that fucking crow jumps out again behind him. And it's like, oh no. And then he turns back and then the woman in black is gone. So it's like, it's like you just ran out of ideas. I want to give the screenwriter
bring the crow back.
I know exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm wondering is like, was it really the fault of the screenwriter or the director? Or maybe I wonder if it was the producer who was like, yeah, can you do it again? Come on. Let's do it again. But let's bring the crow back. Come on.
Yeah. Do that crow again.
Yeah, but the movie was just filled with those types of scares and also like even when you saw when there were more ghostly apparition like encounters, without giving too much away, there's a lot of like her like zooming into frame, screaming out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, I mean, like, yeah, you got me, but at the same time, it's like I don't really see why a ghost would do that. Why a ghost would just be like, I'm going to emerge out of the shadows screaming. Like I'm
just being weird for no reason.
It just feels like more of a carnival ride. Like if I'm doing like a dark house ride at a carnival or something, I'm fine with that. Like, because it's like cram as many scares into the 5 or 6 minutes or however long the ride is. But it's like, this is a movie and it was pitched as like this British sophisticated slow burn gothic horror film. And you keep going for like the cheap carnival scares. So that was a huge fucking letdown for me. I'm a little more forgiving of dumb, cheap jump scares if the movie doesn't take itself seriously. If it's like, oh, whatever, it's just, a cheesy slasher flick. It's more just beer and pizza type of movie. Fine, whatever.
I'm just thinking of, I think I brought this up on the last podcast. where it's a scary movie where it's making fun of jump scares, and it's the girl in the garage, and she's like, oh, and like a cat pops up, she's like, oh kitty, you scared me. And then it's like, oh, and a horse goes by, it's like, oh horsey, you scared me. I think it's the third animal too, but like the horse, it's so funny.
No, seriously, and it makes like, you know, what the Woman in Black did all the more egregious, because that movie came out like 15 years after Scary Movie, where it's like, this was a joke a long time ago. Like, you're still doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also like the slasher movie trope, which again, it's predictable, but whatever. It's just part of the slasher genre, where it's like, you're down to the final girl, and she doesn't she's looking for her friends, and she opens the closet, and then her dead boyfriend falls out, and then she opens the other thing, and then like her dead girlfriend, so it's just sort of like, again, dumb, but you kind of expect it, and it's part of the trashy fun of a slasher flick. But
like that's why rating and reviewing movies is, I don't want to say it's tough. It's not. I want to say it's definitely not tough. But when I'm like coming up with a score and thinking about, it's like, well, what's this movie going for? Is this going for Oscar bait? Is this something that's taking itself really seriously and it just totally misses? And like, that's a different, so someone could be like, well, how could you give movie X that clearly, has a lot more production value and better acting in it, a lower score than some B-side horror movie? I'm like, yeah, but what are they going for? What are the resources? What like that's what so you have to take those things into account. And like I don't want to say a bad horror is the word, because like bad comedy is probably the worst. Like there's like sitting through I don't know, bad movies suck, but bad horror that takes itself too seriously. And a lot of times I feel like we're getting more, I feel like we're kind of being polarized with some horror, because the whole, and actually I have the other article up. What are they calling this now?
It's like post horror.
Post horror. I don't even like that term that much.
Yeah, neither do I.
Whatever, but you know what I mean. Highbrow horror is what we were calling it. It's like, okay, like I'm all for good highbrow horror. Like I have a poster of Midsummer in the room right over there. Like I love a lot of these movies. I love Hereditary. I think some of them are great, but because of the highbrow horror, a lot of movies are trying to replicate that, and they're just missing, and it makes it like that much worse because it's not fun.
Yeah.
And I think that should be rule number one with a horror movie is it fun? Hereditary is a fun movie. Yeah. It's scary. It's disturbing. It's, has great acting in it, but it's also really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because Hereditary, which is one of my favorite horror films of all time, it still has some jump scares. But like when I was like scanning my brain for like jump scare movies, it didn't really pop up. And so it wasn't until I read the articles, I was like, oh yeah, it did have some jump scares. But like,
wait, but hold on, is that? I was gonna say, do you consider the part here? I'll just read it. For instance, the biggest shock in Hereditary comes when a main character leans out of a car window and gets decapitated by a telephone pole. That's not a jump scare.
It's not really a jump scare, but like it's a shocking moment that comes like you're not really expecting it.
I think I was wondering, I wanted to hear, that's why I have this up right here, because when I was reading that, I'm like, that's not a jump scare. That scene is tension building.
Yeah.
It is leading up to what's very obviously going to turn into something terrible, right? That scene goes on for a while, if you remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then something horrible happens. That's not a jump scare.
Well, I think so. When it mentioned Hereditary, I thought it was going to mention a different jump scare, which I think qualifies more as an actual jump scare later on in the movie, which is when the teenage boy, I forgot his name, but when he wakes up after his nose is all busted and it's nighttime, and he's walking through the house, and then he sees his dad's burned up corpse, and then his mom jumps out of the shadows and chases him. That I thought that was the scene that they were going to mention. That's more of a jump scare.
I don't really remember that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's during the third act.
I remember her, Toni Collette's character, like climbing on the ceiling.
Yeah. First she's up in the corner, and then she floats behind him, and then as he goes downstairs, he sees his dad's corpse on the floor, and then his mom's in the shadows behind him, and then she jumps out of the shadows and starts chasing him.
Okay.
But that is more of a jump scare.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Something jumping out of the shadows is like very much a jump scare. Oh, you know what? Glad you said that, because you just reminded me of one of my other favorite jump scares, which is a movie I actually already referenced this episode, which is It Follows. Have you seen It Follows?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So the you tell me. I consider this jump scare with, I forget, there's a name for the guy, but he's only in this one scene. He's this super tall guy with kind of like hollowed out eyes, right? And he comes out of the darkness and he's kind of turns the corner. Yeah. And that's very much a jump scare. Yeah. Right? Okay. Yeah. So like that to me, that's a very, very good one. So that's in that, let's say 10% of ones that I think are good.
Another good thing about that jump scare is that like the horror is kind of ambiguous, because you don't know, because he's not running. He just kind of walks suddenly,
like lumbering down.
Yeah,
he just huge, and his eyes are scary.
Yeah, and it's very brief too. But at the same time, like it's never really clear exactly what happens when that thing, when the it or whatever gets you. It tries to kill you in some form, but it's not really like, there's still a lot of ambiguity.
Sure.
But like, when it's like a typical slasher movie where it's like the guy jumps out of the closet with an axe, then it's like, oh, I know exactly what there's no ambiguity about that.
Yeah, I know what he's gonna do with that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that was one of my favorite scenes from that movie. Yeah. That is a good jump scare too. But another good jump scare, Mulholland Drive with the hobo behind Pinky's or whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That one was good.
That is it. Yeah, that is a jump scare.
And it's cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's cool because it kind of subverts expectations a little bit. So very quickly, the subtext is these two men are sitting in this little diner in Hollywood, and one of them's telling this story about this nightmare he has, and he's saying, behind this, I have this recurring dream of like behind the dumpster. I go behind it, and there's this person, and like they've got this really messed up skin, and they're very disheveled looking. Then I wake up, and then his friend goes, well, okay, well, let's go see it. Let's confront your fears. And it's like broad daylight, like sunny LA. And then they're slowly walking up to the dumpster. Any other filmmaker would have, the typical sort of a cat jumping out of the dumpster or something like that. Or some other hobo who's like, hey, buddy, got $1 or something, but like this one, like his nightmare happens exactly. You're not expecting his nightmare to actually fucking come true. Yeah. And it's terrifying.
That's a good example, because Mulholland Drive is, I guess you could argue it's somewhat of a horror movie, but it's not. Like it's not a horror movie, and that is actually a very good one because it's playing with conventions, right? It's it's not going to happen the way that he just described it to us, right? Yeah, and I didn't even think about that, but it's very much like you to throw David Lynch whenever possible.
Oh yeah, well, it's also interesting because like that's a ballsy move, because because a lesser filmmaker, even if they'd have done it, even if they'd have said, let's have the nightmare absolutely come true, like it would be very easy for the audience to just be like, okay, so his nightmare just comes true then? Like, so how does that, but like when you're in the world of David Lynch where anything can happen, it works. So this is a ballsy move.
He just like has a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think I mentioned it last time we talked about it, but the person who plays the hobo is that chick from the Nun.
It is a woman. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Oh yeah. I wanted to bring up, because somehow this movie gets brought up all the time in our podcast, is Skinamarink.
Oh yeah.
And I think that, so here we go. So Church also says that, let me sorry. This is from an article. I don't just want to read from random. The Startling History of the Jump Scare by Gavia Baker Whitelaw, and this is from October of last year. Yeah. So I just want to get that down before we continued. All right. Where are we? Sorry. Okay.
Don't worry, I'll put a commercial or something during this. From our non-existent sponsors.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Church also says that post-horror films, quote, tend to deny audiences the jump scare as a reliever of tension, embracing open-ended narratives and remixing classic horror tropes through an art cinema lens. For viewers who expect horror movies to be, quote, smoothly oiled machines for generating jump scares, he says, this ambiguity can be frustrating, which explains the divisive reactions to experimental films like Skinamarink and In a Violent Nature. I've gone on the record several times saying I really dislike Skinamarink. I have not seen In a Violent Nature. It is on my list. But riffing on familiar subgenres, haunted houses and rural slashers, respectively, these movies both have extended periods where very little happens. I'm going to stop there. That's the opposite of fun, which I was saying, which is like should be rule number one for horror.
Yeah.
Right there. These movies both have extended periods where very little happens. Why would I waste my time when nothing is happening?
So In a Violent Nature, I haven't seen the full movie. I've watched the death scenes because I heard that those were super over the top. And I watched them and they're very cartoony. And I watched them in context.
Are they gross?
They're extremely, but also very, very fake looking though, which I think kind of contrasts because the movie, the way it's presented as being like this, it's got like a very bleak sort of melancholic feel to it. And yet when it comes to the death scenes, one, they're over the top. So it's like they're it's just insane, but also they look very fake. So it's like it's almost like two different films where it's almost like one is like a goofy like low budget trauma movie, and the other one is like a more artsy. It's more about atmosphere, and I don't know. I haven't seen the full movie, but just seeing those scenes, it just felt too conflicting for me.
Is it like Terrifier violence?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to see that then.
You're not missing much.
I know this is a horror podcast, but I have no interest in pure gore violence. I know Jim loves those movies.
Yep.
They're just not for me. And I can handle a lot of violence.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite movie, like Texas Chainsaw is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But that's just not my style. So I'm probably going to take that off my list.
Yeah.
Also, but getting back to the long stretches of time where very little happens.
Yeah.
Like that to me, why is that even divisive? And also Skinamarink, and you could argue from what you're telling me, let's say In a Violent Nature has lots of very little happening and then extreme violence. Okay, I could get there's at least an audience for that. It might not be me, but I get that. Skinamarink, it doesn't pay off. And I know I'm hard on this movie. I feel bad. I think it was low budget. I think it was very ambitious. Fine. It's definitely very atmospheric and has some really cool elements. I love one of the lines, and it has one, I think, really good part about it.
Yeah.
But that's small. Yeah. And it's not the payoff. If you're going to have long stretches of time where nothing happens, then when things are happening, it better be really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a bit of a tendency of art horror films where they're trying to emulate aspects of like Hereditary and The Witch, where they're combining like beautiful cinematography with horror, but at least with like the more sort of A24 house style of horror films. They still had intriguing plots. So even if there wasn't something scary happening, there was still something tense. There was still some suspense building. There was still character stuff going on. Like you're still invested, even when it wasn't super scary. But it just felt like with these two films is sort of like in between scares, and even less so with Skinamarink. Like there are just long stretches of, ooh, look at this beautiful lake.
Yeah,
and the camera is just.
I think Skinamarink may be on our scariest movie ever made list. I feel like I saw that.
Yeah,
I think that's why I watched it.
I probably liked it about 5% more than you did. I think there were a few, but from what I understand, I have seen Skinamarink, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, in a Violent Nature, I have not seen all of. But Skinamarink, from what I understand, and it's on YouTube. There's a shorter version of it. That was made before the movie. Version. I know, yeah. I heard it's only like 28 minutes long, and I heard that it's got a little bit more plot. And it makes a little bit more sense.
Skinamarink should be 40 minutes,
yeah,
and it would be very good.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But there's a 28-minute version of that film. It's on YouTube. It's called Heck, so maybe we should check that one out. But
I'm probably not going to. But it's fine. And I get, like, I say this. I couldn't make a movie. I will watch whatever that director makes next.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally in for his vision. Like, I'm assuming him. Actually,
it's a guy.
Yeah, it is a guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. I don't want to sound like a hater, but something I don't have a lot of tolerance for is, and I'm going to quote it one more time, long stretches of time where nothing seems to happen or whatever. I lost it here. But to me, I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Wait, where is it? Yeah.
These movies both have extended periods where very little happens.
Extended periods where very little happens.
Elongating the buildup to a scare that may or may not arrive.
What the fuck am I watching?
I felt the exact same way about I think it was a goat or it was like that Swedish one with that kid with the head of a goat or whatever. Was it goat or was it sheep?
I think I know what you're saying. And
Numi Rapace or Rapace or
Numi Rapace. What? Yeah, I know exactly the movie you're thinking of.
Have you seen it?
No, I almost watched it and then I stopped.
That movie has a lot of nothing going on.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to watch it. I don't know. I think it's still on my list. What is that called? You're right. It might be goat.
Yeah, I think so.
Lamb? Is it lamb?
Oh, maybe it was lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lamb.
Actually, I think that's the movie. Wait, I just typed in lamb into Google thinking that would bring me to the movie, and obviously it brings me to the animal and the food.
Oh yeah.
Wait, is that the movie that there's a movie where the first scene is like a cat getting eaten?
I don't think so.
That.
I don't remember that.
Okay. And that's what caused me to write that article about I'm effing tired of watching cats die.
Oh, yeah.
I thought maybe that was that, but maybe I'm wrong. I think that might be another Numi Rapace movie.
Maybe.
My wires crossed there.
Yeah. Lamb, it's got an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is way too fucking high. But that one, I mean, it's got some nice suspense where you think it's going to build up to something, but then there's just no scares. And I was willing to give that movie the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe if it was based on like a Swedish folktale, maybe there's some cultural relevance that maybe I shouldn't fully get. But no, it's just no.
Right.
It's just a kid born with a goat head, and then
yes, it is lamb. What am I thinking of then? I think it is lamb. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not going to watch lamb. I'm just going to take that off because
it's funny because I mean, if you were to say, "Hey, I'm in the mood for an artsy horror film from Europe," I'd be like, "Yeah, check that one out if that's what you're looking for." But if you just want like an actual like good, creepy, suspenseful horror film, do not watch that one. So, I actually wrote down a few things about what I think makes it for a good jump scare.
Okay.
So feel chime in anytime. So one,
I always do,
carries through with the horror. So like when the jump scare happens, it's actually revealing something scary or signifies like a turn where it's like, okay, we're going from a normal situation to a scary situation. It's not just a cat jumping out or, your coworker, jumps out of nowhere or something like that. Like it carries through, like it's scary at first and then it actually leads into something scary. Two, makes narrative sense. Like it fits the style and tone and the logic of the rest of the film without feeling forced, or even serves as the turning point in the plot. So like when you have the ghost you know, screeching and then leaving. And it's like, okay, but is it established? Is that like part of the logic of the movie that that's how the ghost operates? It just like when you see the ghost, it just jumps out and scares you and then leaves the frame. Like, so that's where it's just like you're just running out of ideas, right?
Yeah, I know you particularly hate ghosts doing weird shit for no reason.
Yeah, I do. Just because I think if I was a ghost, there would probably be a bunch of other cool stuff.
Which I agree. Like you kind of pointed that out to me, but it's like, why did that ghost do that? Why wouldn't it just stay being a ghost? Like just doing, like I think you've always used the example of just like the arm reaching out and then just like fades away. It's like, well, are we going to learn, was there some force? Can the ghost only appear during certain times?
Yeah.
Certain energies or something like that? Or is it just being weird to be weird?
And it's funny because like one of the most logical ghost movies I've ever seen is the movie Ghost. And it's not even a horror movie, but it's the Patrick Swayze one where it's like, at least like there was like, you know, they talk about like what ghosts can and can't do. There are like, they're usually invisible and they usually don't have any sort of physical interactions, but there are times when you could do it. But like, you know, but it's like, okay, like, you know, you explain that to me, so I get it. But like, if a ghost can just turn visible and invisible and move physical things, but can also walk through solid objects, I don't really care. And so, is unique. So, it's not the usual predictable ways that a person or thing or a loud noise suddenly enters the film. So if you can find, you know, even if the jump scare is kind of cheap, if you found like a unique way to pull it off, I'll be like, okay, you put a little bit of thought in that.
You know, it's a good one. I just thought of this, so let me interrupt. Have you seen Barbarian?
Yes.
I feel like you didn't really like that, right?
I didn't care much. I didn't hate it, but I thought it was.
I liked it. I think I liked it a lot more than you did. I think there's a great jump scare in that where there's the gang, right? Like the group of people who are, you know, who are characters, and I think they're like sitting around a fire and some action has already happened. So you've kind of learned what the creature monster is, and they're kind of like regrouping and talking what their strategy is. And all of a sudden the monster comes crashing through the wall and just like mayhem happens. And that was so unexpected to me. I thought that was really, really well done. And I think that's a jump scare. Like there's nothing, I mean, why I find that one unique is because there's no tension buildup. Usually there's a tension that then's relieved with the jump scare. Here it's kind of like there's a calm and you get hit with this jump scare that I don't think was cheap at all. I think it was really, really well done because it was kind of one of those things that one of my biggest issues with horror movies is one, when I think characters are too calm and they don't pay for it, or like the monster or the killer just kind of stops for some reason, and this kind of plays off of that trope that maybe isn't even an acknowledged trope. It's our characters are calm, they're regrouping, sitting around a fire, but the monster's not stopping. Like the monster's on its warpath, and it just crashes through the walls. I don't remember what happens exactly after that because I saw it 3-4 years ago. But I remember that being like, oh shit, like this. That's one of those, what you just said, taking a turn, like what's changing, and that's changing. What's changing there to me as a viewer is, okay, this director, this script is going to offer something different. Right. This is something different. Just from that one moment, it's like, okay, this movie gets it. It gets that it does not have to follow the quote unquote script of a horror movie. And I just remember that being like, all right, like you kind of, it's one of those moments where you kind of sit in and you're like, all right, I'm in. Like I am in for the rest of the movie.
Well, unfortunately, I remember that scene very vividly, and it didn't have that. I was expecting the jump scare because it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the you're right. They were sitting around a fire after they were being chased, right? And then they meet a hobo, and he knows about the legend of that monster.
Yeah.
And then so he tells him, he kind of tells him a little bit, and then he goes, but don't worry, she doesn't come, she won't leave the house, or she won't leave the block or whatever. So don't worry, we're safe here. And then she bursts through.
Yeah.
I was like, as soon as you said that, I knew that was gonna fucking
really
happen. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the hobo, rewatch it. The hobo says, don't worry, we're safe here. She's not gonna get us. And I was like, oh great, you guys are dead. She's gonna pop it right now.
Okay.
If you didn't say that, I probably would have been taken aback more.
Yeah, I can see that, but I was not expecting it.
Yeah,
I guess I was naive, thinking like, okay, like to me, I was maybe thinking, all right, the hobo's kind of setting up the rules of the movie, but like, right. You know, like Scream kind of makes fun of, in a way, like it's setting up the rules of the movie, and then it's immediately shattered.
And then the other rule that I put, which I basically already addressed with Mulholland Drive, was that it subverts expectations. So we can usually tell when a jump scare is coming and whether it's going to deliver on a serious scare or a dud, or a good jump scare like in Mulholland Drive. Like I said, like I'm willing to forgive a fake jump scare if the movie doesn't take itself seriously. If it's just sort of like, this is just a roller coaster of a movie. It's yeah, I like it. And getting back to Barbarian, it would have subverted expectations if he didn't say, don't worry, we're safe here. Right. So
yeah, fair enough. I still like that one.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable little feature flick. I did like the breastfeeding scene. That was cool.
And that does not surprise me, because you're a weirdo freak.
That was the thing that made me go, oh my god, I can't believe you went there. So I will applaud the film for that. All right, Benjamin, anything else you want to say about jump scares?
No, I'm good.
One other thing I want to say, interesting, that was oh shit, dude.
Sorry to scare the shit out of my cat. I'm sorry, buddy.
Dude, that's cruel. That's cold-blooded, man.
You're okay. All right. He's good. Sorry, pal.
Was that even when you're suspecting a jump scare to happen, it doesn't make it less scary, because it's almost like that stoic thing of like, when you're fearing something that hasn't happened yet, like you're experiencing it twice, because you're experiencing it in your mind and then you're experiencing it in real life. And so I was like, that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, I've seen movies that I've seen horror movies that are just so dumb and so lame. I didn't buy into anything. I was just like, yeah, jump scare is going to happen right now. Look, jump scare happened. If it's a good movie, if I'm at least invested in it somewhat, and even if the jump scare isn't great, I'm still willing to be like, all right, but that was fun. It was cool. That was. I'm into it.
I think I probably watch, in the top whatever percent of horror movie watching. So I'm really just not interested in them anymore. Like I need a moratorium on jump scares. I just want to see more interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
but still, it was interesting jumping into the nuances and the complications of the complexities of jump scares and the history of jump scares. So yeah, I don't have much to say. In fact, I'm not going to say anything. Boo! All right, Benjamin, this was fun, and we're looking forward to more spooky dookie stuff later on.
All right.
All right, everybody. Later.